Chapter 176 Skye. Maximus felt an unprecedented oppression weighing on him. Circulating his mana, he felt a little better. What happened? He muttered. He felt the abyss seemingly change, the aura becoming more turbulent. Host, this is a sign of a domain. This can only be released by an elite abyss monster. We should escape quickly, host, or it's too late. Tintin urged. Not so soon. Let's see what the problem is, Maximus muttered with interest. Although he could still feel the oppression, it wasn't much. Furthermore, he had a Tier 9 protection amulet and Tintin for emergencies. Coming back to Etherium right now would be a waste and too cowardly. Host, you're really reckless, Tintin sighed. With the huge presence of the elite abyss monster, he quickly located it. Boom. Boom. It seems that I'm not the only one who had the idea of killing the elite abyss monster, Maximus noted. Arriving at the scene, he saw a student fighting the abyss monster on their own. A Tier 7 abyss monster, plus a domain. Maximus assessed. Just right. I can test my strength, he decided. The abyss monster he defeated earlier was only cannon fodders, so he hadn't thought much about it. Watching the fight between the student was not only Maximus but also others, each in their own hiding spot. Boom. Boom. Deafening sounds echoed as the clash continued, but over time, the elite abyss monster seemed to be getting stronger. What happened? It's absorbing the abyss aura? Oh no. Host, it's a mutated elite abyss monster. It will absorb all the abyss aura here until it makes this part of the abyss its territory. Tintin warned as she watched the fight. Although the abyss scared many people from the Etherium realm, they also regarded it as a paradise. In the deeper parts of the abyss were training grounds for Tier 8 powerhouses. This is also why the people in the Etherium realm knew many details regarding the abyss. Enough to even create a game about it. According to Tintin's database, a mutated elite abyss monster had the possibility of advancing to a leader-level abyss monster. That was already a world-destroying monster, capable of fighting across ranks. It could be said that if 1 or 2 Tier 9 leader abyss monsters appeared, it would spell the doom of the Etherium realm. Of course, this was only a theory. After all, they hadn't encountered a Tier 9 leader abyss monster. At most, it was a Tier 8 leader abyss monster, which was quickly killed before causing any damage. What the people in the Etherium realm didn't know was that almost all the leader abyss monsters were killed by Magron. Furthermore, they weren't the strongest class of abyss monsters. The strongest would be the monarch abyss monster, which even Magron had a hard time dealing with. While Tintin was explaining things to him, the student who was fighting the mutated elite abyss monster was sent flying. Coincidentally, the place the student was sent flying was exactly where Maximus was. Bam! Cough! Cough! Looking at the bloodied person coughing blood at his feet, he didn't know what to say for a while. Are you alright? Cough. It looks like you're not, Maximus confirmed. Healing. Assessing his injuries. Maximus's mana began to reconstruct his body and soul perfectly. Huh? Comfortable. Thanks, the man said gratefully. No problem, Maximus just smiled. His healing magic only consumed 100 times his mana. As for reconstructing his body and soul perfectly, it was even easier. If Maximus wanted, he could construct anything with just his mana. Of course, he must know all their properties down to the smallest detail. Maximus even considered using this ability to mass-produce rare resources and earn money. However, after seeing his earnings just from selling books, he shelved his idea. It's not that he didn't like money, but it was a waste of time. By now, he could only construct low to mid-tier materials. For higher tier and rarer resources, they either contained law energy or other elements of mana that he didn't have. Only when he reached Tier 7 could he begin to produce law energy. Furthermore, it was only after upgrading his physique to rank 10 that he could have unlimited law energy. By the way, why didn't you use the protection amulet? Oh, that thing? I threw it out, it interferes with my training. Is there something wrong in your head? Maximus's mouth twitched upon hearing his reason. Heh, how can I devote myself to training if I knew I was never going to get hurt? The man just smiled. Oh, then you're awesome, Maximus gave him a thumbs up. Another insane person. He thought. The first insane person he met was Silas, who treated time as nothing. Living in a time dilation, Silas' time was multiplied 1,000,000 times. Now, another one was in front of him. Just to train, he regarded safety as interference. Hey, fortunately, I have a cheat, otherwise I might also take an insane path. Maximus thought gratefully. Give me your name, I'll get back to you later, the man said, looking eagerly at the elite abyss monster, ready for another fight. Maximus. What a great name. Remember, my name is Skye. Skye. Maximus quickly scanned Skye with his system. Skye, fit 110, max. Talent, rank 9 dimensional immortality, ultimate. Strength, tier 6. Soul amplitude, 1 billion. Soul will, 987,392,382. Fit? There was a question mark on his face. The fit value was only given when he used his system to skin females. What female? Maximus carefully constructed Skye's body and soul from the inside out, and there was no hint of female at all. Could it be a tier 9 disguise item? This is the only thing that Maximus thought. After all, as a law item, reconstructing your body and soul is easy. Furthermore, ultimate dimensional physique? Maximus was getting more shocked as he read the status of Skye. Maximus had read that there can only be one ultimate dimensional physique in one dimension. Maximus had already thought that this one is on the strongest being in all of Etherium realm history, Malgren. How could there be another one? But as he read through the description of the physique, everything made sense. Dimensional immortal literally means being immortal. No matter how you die, even if you are erased at a concept level, you can still reincarnate. Furthermore, all your memories will be intact, provided you have enough strength to accept the memories of your previous life. So Skye is from another dimension? Maximus concluded. Hey, I also like the dimensional immortality physique. Maximus thought enviously. Such a physique is a panacea. No matter who your enemy is, you are immortal. As for other beings imprisoning you so that you will not reincarnate? Then you are underestimating an ultimate physique. How could there be such a loophole? Just a thought is needed for the bearer of this physique to reincarnate for another life. Fortunately, I'm also immortal. Maximus consoled himself. Origin, the cultivation manual he created, granted him immortality. Although if a higher being completely erases him, it will not work. But in a physical and spiritual sense, he is immortal. Even if he disintegrates, as long as he progresses with origin, it is enough, he will reincarnate. Furthermore, after he reincarnates, with his ultimate physique providing energy, he will not start from scratch but will retain all his strength. This is how overpowering his created cultivation manual is to be considered one of the ultimate techniques in all dimensions. What the ultimate treasure he absorbs did is not just strengthening or enhancing his foundation, but is building his very concept of self to form an origin. It can be said that after he cultivates origin to the maximum, even if all dimensions perish, he will still live. But a reincarnator, huh? Interesting. Maximus smiled as he watched Skye fight again. However, after watching the fight for a few seconds. Bam! Cough! Cough! Achille! Are you deliberately coming here? Maximus's mouth twitched. Achille! Alright, now you owe me too. After healing Skye, he also added a super buff. As for fighting the mutated elite abyss by himself, he had already lost interest. Huh? Full blood again. Your healing is really useful. Furthermore, what is this? Don't worry, it's not a shield that will hinder your training. This is a super healing buff that will make you semi-immortal, Maximus explained. Cool. Also, thanks again. Skye flew away quickly. Soon, their fight began again. The other students had already gone to another place or had escaped the abyss quickly. After all, dying here was not worth it. They still had a bright future ahead of them. Boom! 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 The fight of Skye against the elite abyss monster was still one-sided. But it seemed that Skye was getting more excited as the fight went on. Bam! Skye was hit again, disintegrating half of his body. But under Maximus's super healing buff, Skye's body reconstructed quickly. Under the healing buff, their fight lasted a few minutes. However, all this was useless because as time went on, the elite abyss monster continued to get stronger. The oppression on Maximus was also getting stronger. Maximus breathed heavily, countering the pressure. By now, the only people in this place were Skye and Maximus. The others had already escaped, unable to withstand the pressure. Finally, the elite monster upgraded to a higher tier. The instant that happened, Skye was teleported back to the Etherium realm. As for Maximus, he still persisted as the pressure crushed him bit by bit. Noticing his will quickly climbing up, he persisted. However, just a few seconds later, Tintin noticed his soul cracking.
Host, let's get out of here quickly.
Maximus couldn't even mutter a word. Noticing that he couldn't speak, Tintin forcibly teleported them back to the Etherium realm. Chapter 177 End of Competition.
Huh?
Maximus took a deep breath and felt relief as he healed himself. It's too dangerous, he thought. But, observing the increase in his soul's will, he wanted to do it one more time. Anyway, he knew he wouldn't truly die. He just let his soul crumble because he felt in that state, the increase in his soul will skyrocketed. Unfortunately, he couldn't convey this desire to stay longer to Tintin, as his physical body and spiritual consciousness had been temporarily damaged at that moment. If I had stayed longer, maybe my soul's will would have caught up to my soul's amplitude, Maximus thought, but quickly shook his head. I should be more careful in the future. After all, there are system points, there's no need to endanger myself. After healing his body and soul, he looked around. Just like him, the other students were recovering from the oppressive pressure they had just endured. The top 3 powerhouses on the other hand gave them time to recover. I didn't expect there to be no casualties. Should we consider regulating access to the Abyss realm for weaker individuals? Filna asked the other two. It's feasible, but the only problem is protection, Aradius said. The reason we had no casualties is that the students had Tier 9 protection amulets. That is indeed a problem. Anyway, we can just manage the entrance. Whether they choose to enter or not is their problem, Alabaster said. He didn't regard weaklings as the same as the other two. One considers it his believer. The other considers it a treasure for the future. For him, however, weakling is just grass and trees. Their only use is to add a bit of greenery and fresh air. That's it, I will refine the rules later. However, what I didn't expect is the presence of mutated elite abyss creatures, Fialon said. It should be just an anomaly. It should not happen very often. After discussing the topic, they finally turned their attention to the recovered students. Congratulations on surviving, Fialon smiled at them. You must be curious about your rankings. Without further ado, here are your standings. Maximus Shadowcrest, 56 billion. Skye, 49 billion. Eloan Shadowfang, 37 billion. Thaddeus Holycrest, 34 billion. Azura Runecaster, 33 billion. Celine Moonwhisper, 25 billion. Talia Dawnchaser, 24.5 billion. Zephyr Thornfur, 22 billion. Azurith Voidwalker, 18 billion. Xander Stoneclaw, 15 billion. Looking at the scoreboard, they were shocked. Although they now knew their real-time scores, they didn't know about the others. Seeing that the top 10 had scores in the tens of billions, it left the people at the bottom astonished. They had only managed to score a few 100 million after struggling and nearly dying multiple times. Now they saw the leading player with a score of numbering tens of billions. Are we even in the same dimension as the top 10? How can they do it? Hey, we are only here as background. Sigh, if I didn't look carefully I wouldn't even find my name. You should start at the bottom, maybe you'll find it faster. Damn, there it is. The last place? So that's why you can't find your name. The students at the bottom ranking were chattering, hoping to dilute their sadness. As for the other 3 people from the diving continent who traded with Maximus? Thanks to the transaction that brought them great ideas. Even though they only had a few hours left, they still collected a few billion points worth of trash resources. Plus the billion points worth of trash Maximus paid them. They had reached the top 20. Hehe, maybe we collect trash, but we're still at the top. No, we are the glorious envoys of God. That's right, we are collecting resources for the growth of believers in God. They chatted silently, bragging with each other. All right, attention, everyone, Fialon called their attention. For those ranked from 31 to 100, you can choose a treasure in the Etherium Vault. The Etherium Vault? I heard the rewards are generous, but I didn't expect them to be this generous. The people in the top 100 erupted in cheers when they heard about the rewards. The Etherium Vault is the treasure place holding their realm's world wonders. If it were just some normal Tier 9 treasure, they wouldn't be so excited. However, every treasure there is coveted, even by Tier 9 Apex sovereigns. Unless they made sufficient contributions, dreaming of obtaining something from it would be futile. As for where the treasures come from and how they are managed, it basically comes from two sources, the chaotic sea and the void. The chaotic sea can sometimes give birth to a world treasure. In the void, they can sometimes capture treasures that come close to the Etherium realm. In the past, countless powerhouses competed for such treasures, leading to numerous conflicts and losses. Eventually, the top powerhouses had enough and began to formulate rules. All the treasures found are now kept in the Etherium vault, a vault where the world's origin manages itself. Even the tabulation of contribution points is done by the world's origin. As for how the powerhouses accomplished this, it seems that the world's origin had some consciousness. With the top powerhouses guiding it, the world's origin quickly agreed. Now, for the top 11 to 30. You can choose 2 treasures from the Etherium vault. As for those in the top 10 to 4, you get to select 3. Finally, for the top 3. In addition to receiving 5 treasures, you also have the privilege of bathing in the Origin Mana Pool, Fialon said with a smile. Origin Mana Pool? Maximus inquired, clearly puzzled. Tintin seemed to notice his confusion and proceeded to explain. It's where the first and all the mana is produced. Bathing in it can enhance your potential and affinity. Oh, I see, Maximus nodded, seemingly unfazed. What's wrong, host? This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, Tintin urged. It is said that this pool of origin mana can only be produced once in an epoch. I know, Maximus replied, though his tone showed limited interest. Tisk, noticing Maximus wasn't paying attention to her explanation. Tintin hummed and returned to the token. Maximus, looking at this, didn't show any reaction. He didn't really regard the origin mana pool as something. With his current network, although he can't buy an entire pool of origin mana, buying a glass of it is still possible. Furthermore, with his potential point upgrading his affinity and potential is child's play. Nevertheless, he didn't really disregard the value of the origin mana pool. After all, it can save him a considerable amount of system points and money. Suddenly, a handsome man approached him. Maximus Shadowcrest, I'll remember you, the Skye said, gazing at him intently. Don't remember me too hard, or you may dash. Maximus suddenly stopped. He remembered that the one in front of him was disguised as a man, which is kind of weird. Or you may? Skye looked puzzled. Skye had noticed Maximus mainly because of his remarkable healing skill. Otherwise, he wouldn't have paid much attention, considering it a waste of memory space. Skye, despite his immortality, frequently perished due to his reckless behavior. Fortunately, the Etherium realm is a safe haven where he can quickly regain his strength after each death. His recklessness was a trait he hoped to fix, but with his immortality, he had chosen to forget about it. Skye believed that true strength meant being able to do whatever he pleased without fear of death. Nothing? By the way, it looks like you're from the Beast continent. It seems we may not meet often. Maximus shifted the topic. That's true. Skye fell into deep thought. Maximus's healing magic was so divine that Skye couldn't bear to part with it. While others could heal him perfectly well, Skye didn't like it. What they did was regenerate, whereas what Maximus did was reconstruct. With Maximus, he could regain 100% of his training experience without any loss. Despite being immortal, he didn't like wasting time. Then I'll come to the arcane continent, Skye decided. Wait for me. Skye domineeringly left, not waiting for Maximus's reply. Oh, well then, good luck, Maximus said in passing. Finally, after a brief talk, they were teleported back to their respective continents. In the city of Arcana, Tower of Arcana. Come here 3 days later to get your treasure, Fialon hastily reminded and disappeared. It seems that we will receive our rewards 3 days later, Azurith told Maximus. It appears so. Hey, I didn't expect you to take the number 1 spot, Azurith said enviously. Although in the beginning Azurith had sensed something different about Maximus. Azurith didn't expect the difference to be so vast that Maximus would outperform everyone. Maximus even surpassed Skye, who was originally considered a prodigy in 1,000 epochs. I'm just lucky, Maximus downplayed his achievement. There is no such thing as luck without corresponding strength, Shadowcrest, Azura Runecaster muttered from behind. Azura was the 5th on the score list. He is also the highest-ranked student in the Arcane Continent aside from Maximus. No, I am indeed lucky. Look, Maximus displayed mountains of worthless resources. This is worth over 30 billion points, he proudly explained. 30 billion points? The other students had their mouths twitching as they looked at the seemingly tasteless materials. So we can get billions of points from these? Looking at the pile of trash in front of them, they couldn't help but feel a sense of regret. Perhaps they had been lazy and wasteful, only focusing on collecting high-tier resources. Strength is also required to obtain these kinds of resources, Azura insisted. He would definitely not admit that he had lost to this pile of trash. In any case, Maximus had beaten them with over 20 billion more points, which was somewhat redeeming. After exchanging contact information, they quickly departed for their respective destinations. See you again after 3 days. Chapter 178 Etherium Vault. Maximus Manor. Maximus quickly returned home, missing his wives and children.
Husband? Dad.
Upon seeing Maximus arrive, they finally reacted.
Husband. Dad.
You're finally home. We thought something had happened to you, especially with that special abyss monster. His children chattered nonstop, telling him all they had seen. His wives, however, looked at him with red eyes, truly worried. I'm sorry I made you worried, Maximus swiftly apologized. Husband, please don't do such a dangerous thing again. We are not short of money or resources. If there is danger, you should escape quickly, his wives nagged endlessly, filled with love. Don't worry, it won't happen again, he said as he gave his wives a hug and a kiss, one by one. Looking at his children with excitement in their eyes, he greeted each one of them.
How's Dad? Is he cool?
Dad, you're super awesome. You can absolutely beat anyone. If not for that special abyss monster that grows stronger over time, we think it wouldn't stand a chance against you. It's still Dad who is the most handsome, even that Skye is beaten. The boys, Max, Sam, and Lux, bragged using all their vocabulary. Ha ha ha, that's right. If I had fought the abyss monster from the beginning, it wouldn't even be a match for me. Daddy, but you're the coolest when collecting resources, Lux said, with a twinkle in his eye. For him, fighting power is not as important as money. Don't worry, I'll share a part of the resources with you later. Father, don't be fooled by him. He won a few trillion magic crystals betting on you. Liam exposed. His own brother was becoming more mischievous, even daring to cheat their father. As the oldest brother, it's his responsibility to keep his younger siblings on the right path. Looks like someone is treating us this time, Maximus teased, seeing Lux's bulging cheeks. Although Lux was the wealthiest, he was also the most frugal. Besides indulging his sisters in whatever they wanted. His brother had to persuade him for a long time to part with some money. Hee, Lux, I know a nice restaurant, Max gave him an evil look. You can't be, Lux said, looking at his brother with some despair. It seemed that his wealth would be cut today. Soon, under the instigation of their brother and sister, they celebrated at a fancy restaurant. The next day, in the Moonlight Empire. I've met your majesty, Doran greeted.
Doran, you're here.
I just acquired a bunch of resources from the abyss. Abyss? When did your majesty venture into such a dangerous place? Doran grew worried for a moment. Maximus's body is a sacred embodiment of the Empire that it could be argued that it's even more important than the Empire itself. Without Maximus, the Moonlight Empire is nothing. Don't worry, am I not safe now? Maximus replied with a smile, seeing Doran's concerned expression. Your Majesty, you should try to avoid such places in the future, Doran advised solemnly. All right. I'm here to give you the resources, not for anything else, Maximus said, changing the topic when he noticed that Doran still wanted to nag. Follow me, this place is not large enough to store the resources. Only a few Tier 9 storage rings could accommodate the resources he had collected from the abyss. Such an expensive item was not something he could acquire casually. Soon, they reached a vast, undeveloped wasteland. Earth wall. Maximus quickly condensed and constructed a temporary storage facility. It should be enough. With a satisfied look, he placed all the resources he had obtained from the abyss. Thud. 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 Every time Maximus set down the mountains of assorted resources, a minor earthquake occurred. If Maximus hadn't reinforced the area, the ground might have already collapsed. Doran stood in silence, his mouth agape.
What is this?
Thud. Thud. Each thud sent shockwaves through Doran's heart. Although Doran didn't know the names of the resources Maximus had acquired, he could still estimate their value just from the aura they emitted. The lowest tier resources present here were Tier 4. Thud. The final thud seemed to snap Doran out of his daze. Your Majesty, did you rob all of this?
How could I do such a thing?
Maximus smiled. How is it? I got this after working for over a month, Maximus said, showing his hard work. Working for a month? Doran's mouth twitched when he heard this. Working for just a month can yield this? What if your Majesty were to work for a few years? Wouldn't the Moonlight Empire become the wealthiest empire on the Cursed Continent? Doran's thought ran widely as he imagined all kinds of possibilities.
What's the matter?
Maximus asked, seeing that Doran appeared lost in thought. Nothing, Your Majesty. I'm just too excited.
Well, that's fine.
You can manage these resources at your discretion. Maximus patted Doran and was about to leave. Oh, before I forget, here's the information about these resources. If you're unsure what to do, just call me, Maximus added before teleporting away. He estimated that even if he sold these items, they wouldn't be worth even a quadrillion magic crystals. What he truly earned in the Abyss realm was the World Crystal Fragment. Now, they were in his system space, continuously generating system points for him. These resources really meant little to Maximus. Seeing Maximus hastily depart, Doran could only sigh. This kind of burden is not really light. As he gazed at the mountain of resources, Doran made a promise to do his best. But with these, the Moonlight Empire can take a leap forward. 2 days later. After some rest and quality time with his family, Maximus returned to the Tower of Arcana for the gathering.
Maximus, you're here.
Azrith warmly greeted.
Maximus!
The most talented in our generation is finally here. It's both a blessing and a curse to be in this generation. The course students grew lively as they saw Maximus. The previous envy had disappeared. Since that day, they had watched the live feed replay. They realized why Maximus was considered the most talented in their generation. It was true that he had won due to the abundance of resources he had looted, but his fighting skills were equally astonishing. He battled and defeated Tier 7 and Tier 8 Abyss monsters effortlessly. Captured several Abyss sources. Healed the injured Skye in a blink of an eye. Although others in the top 10 could do the same, it wasn't as quick and straightforward as Maximus. Now, they only wanted to be friends with this genius, hoping to broaden their options for the future. After a few minutes, the Dean, Fialon, finally appeared. Are you all here? Seeing that no one was missing, Fialon nodded. Maximus and the others suddenly felt a jolt, and they found themselves in another location. Hidden Space Fold Etherium Vault. Traveling this way is really convenient, Maximus thought. With a wave of his hand, you could take others with you anywhere in the Etherium continent. Although Maximus could also teleport, it only covered a few thousand kilometers. Looking around, he noticed people from other continents arriving as well.
Maximus, you're here.
Skye greeted upon seeing him. Oh, hello there, Maximus replied nonchalantly. I've already packed all my belongings. After collecting my rewards, I can return with you to the Arcane Continent, Skye excitedly stated. With no ties binding him, Skye could go anywhere he wanted. Furthermore, the Beast Continent had few restrictions as long as you were strong.
Congratulations.
Ha ha ha, then I'll bother you later, so I can settle quickly.
Sure.
As they conversed, the 3 Apex Sovereigns finally opened the Etherium Vault. Now that the Etherium is open, you can enter. You have 3 days to choose carefully. After that, the door will be closed. Remember, you can only take the amount of treasure assigned to you. Otherwise, you'll be at your own risk, Fialon warned. They all nodded in understanding. With the World Origin as a guard, even a Tier 9 individual daring to rob this place could easily be eliminated. Upon entering the place, they saw an immense and endless treasure house. Most of the treasures inside were even larger than the Moonlight Empire. There were also minuscule treasures invisible to the naked eye. Fortunately, everything was displayed in an orderly manner, allowing them to appreciate each treasure individually. Looking around, Maximus asked Tintin, "What is this?" "Host, I have no information regarding the treasures in this place," Tintin shook her head. "In this place, you can only rely on your own judgment. If you don't even know how to evaluate a treasure, then it's your bad luck," Azura, who was passing by, muttered. "Then do you know how to identify the treasure here?" "By feeling." "Feeling? That sounds unreliable," Maximus rolled his eyes. He thought that this guy had some tricks, but just a hoax showing off. The treasures here have isolation, you can identify them by other means. Anyway, just feel the treasure that resonates with you the most. Azura quickly left, embarrassed to say more. How reliable can feeling be? Maximus thought. System scan. Chapter 179 Choose treasures. System scan. Isolated? There is nothing that can prevent the system from scanning. Soon, Maximus obtained information about the small object in front of him. Atomic God Metal, Tier 9 originating from the void, it is the most versatile and renewable metal source in the metal dimension. It requires 1,000 units of mana to multiply. What? Maximus had to read the entire information to understand this object.
Just as like it's you.
Maximus quickly obtained the treasure and bound it.
Atomic God Metal?
Fialon suddenly appeared at his side. You've got quite an eye, kid.
Do you know what this is, Dean?
Of course, this is the hardest metal that can be found in the Etherium realm. It's only a pity. Fialon sighed. Is it because of the mana requirement? Maximus knows what Fialon is thinking, a pity. The atomic god metal is a type of treasure, not a material. So before using it, you need to bind it with yourself. After binding it, you have the hardest tier 9 treasure in the world. The only problem is it's only the size of an atom. It needs 1,000 units of mana to multiply atomic god metal into 2. A unit of mana is comparable to a low-grade magic crystal. Normally, a tier 5 mage has 1,000,000 units of mana. However, with his deep foundation, he had 100 billion units of mana, which is comparable to tier 7. For instance, if he can provide 100 billion units of mana per day, it means it would take over 30 epochs to form a cubic meter of atomic god metal aggregate. That is equivalent to over 30 billion years for a cubic meter of atomic god metal. If it weren't for the uniqueness of this thing, we would have already mass-produced this kind of metal, Fialon sighed. Even as a tier 9 with quintillions of units of mana, he can't mass-produce atomic god metal. Furthermore, when the host dies, all the hard work will be in vain. And all that would be left is the single piece of atomic god metal that the host bound at the beginning. Even if they tried to bypass this by using magic crystals to generate atomic god metal, it's not cost-effective. Fortunately, using this treasure, they were able to derive a material. Void gold metal, which is the hardest material next to atomic god metal. Even the city of Arcana and most of the tier 9 residences are made of this kind of material. Void gold metal is not only cheap to produce but also convenient. Although it also absorbs mana to multiply. It can absorb free mana in the atmosphere on its own, without the need for cumbersome binding or anything else. Anyway, kid, this is the information about that treasure.
Good luck.
I hope you can craft a weapon soon, Fialon teased.
Maximus simply nodded.
For him, the problem of atomic god metal is not a problem at all. His mana is unlimited, it's only limited by what he can carry. It's like a cup of water, no matter how you pour the water out, the cup will always be full. It's not refilling but constantly full. Meaning he didn't need to fill an atomic god metal one by one. They can all absorb mana from him, all at the same time. Meaning the growth of his atomic god metal would be exponential, doubling each time. The treasures here are indeed worth looking at. Maximus thought. He thought that there was nothing here that could interest him. Who knows, just the first treasure that he found was already so interesting. I only have 4 treasures to pick. Now that he thought of it, the number is too little. Soon, he came across various treasures. With the system scanned, there are no unknown treasures in his eyes. Chaotic Ocean Armor, Tier 9 backed by the power of the Chaotic Ocean, it is impenetrable to any elements. Sword Heart, Tier 9 connected to the Heart of Fate, a slash can take your life, a slash can bring you life. Sun Skye Core, Tier 9 contains the luminance and life of the sun, a mechanical core energy module. Everlasting Bread, Tier 9 a food that can bring everlasting fullness. Ring of Void, Tier 9 can set coordinates and teleport anywhere in the world. Drop of Immortality, Tier 9 can give mortals an endless lifespan, invalid to extraordinary individuals. Dew of Rejuvenation, Tier 9 can heal any injuries and add lifespan. Timepiece, Tier 9 can peek into the past and the future. Energy Converter, Tier 9 can convert mana and law to any type of element. Timeless World, Tier 9 a small world where it can be infinitely still and infinitely fast. Oh, a small world? Maximus finally noticed something interesting. With hundreds of treasures that he found, few were interesting to him. Unfortunately, he can only take 5 of them, so he is careful. Things that are of no use to the current him are passed by him. Like the chaotic ocean armor, with the atomic god metal, which is the hardest material in the world, molding an armor is easy. As for a weapon, it's also of no use. With his pitiful strength of tier 5, even if he is given a tier 9 ultimate weapon, it's useless for him now. Timeless world. Maximus read all of its descriptions. The timeless world is a small world where time is controlled by its bound host. From 0 to infinity, as long as your mana can handle it, there is no limit to time acceleration. Although it's quite simple, Maximus saw its potential.
It's you?
Maximus obtained the timeless world and bound it to himself. Looking at the massive virtual projection of the timeless world shrinking and finally merging into him, he nodded in satisfaction. Timeless world. Fialon appeared again beside him. You really know how to choose, kid. This is another mana-related treasure, Fialon muttered and handed him the treasure information. All the treasure in the Etherium vault was already tested and compiled. Any Apex Sovereign choosing treasure here can access information just by looking at the list. However, for the students, the information is blocked. This is a protection and restriction for these students who got the treasure without much contribution. Don't worry, Dean. I can handle it. Hey, even if you have a dimensional rank physique related to mana, it's quite a waste to pick this thing. Fialon sighed in pity as he disappeared.
That's just what I like.
Maximus thought. If he can't use his physique to the limit, wouldn't it be a waste? Feeling the small world bound to him, he tried to put his consciousness inside. The world inside was still an empty darkness. There was no light, no land, no water, nothing. It was just an empty space without any substance. It's too desolate. Maximus muttered. It seems that for the other 3 treasures, I need something that can fill this world. With the goal in mind, Maximus hastened his process. He scanned all 3 treasures that could help a small world develop. 2 days later, Maximus finally chose 3 treasures. Earth of Life, tier 9, an ever-expanding earth that can accommodate and give birth to all things. Water of Life, tier 9, an ever-expanding drop of water that can hasten and assist the growth of life. Tree of Life, tier 9, a seedling of the Tree of Life that can grow the fruit of life, which can extend life and heal all things. It can assist and nourish all things. The Earth of Life is a piece of dirt that can expand as long as you input mana. There is nothing especially unique about this item. It's comparable to the land in the arcane continent nourished by tier 9 mana intensity. The only thing that is unique about it is that it can grow any plant regardless of environmental restrictions. The Water of Life is also the same as the lake nourished by tier 9 mana intensity. The only redeeming factor besides hastening the growth of plants is that it can accommodate all marine species. It can restrict the intelligent birth of all creatures in it, regardless of tier and potential, thus allowing any marine creature to thrive in it. The third one, the Tree of Life, is a kind of unique tree. It takes epochs for this thing to mature. The only redeeming factor in this is the Fruit of Life, which is a unique treasure that can extend life. For those tier 8 individuals who are dying of old age, this is a panacea that they would scramble for. Of course, the main reason he got this is because it's a natural light source. Yes, a light source. The spores that it releases are a condensed light of life that can nourish all things. After all, how can a world be complete without light? From land, water, and light, my timeless world is complete. Maximus thought excitedly. You really want to take advantage of your mana. Fialon looked at him meaningfully. It may be my destiny, Maximus smiled. After all, students can only choose at random based on feelings. It should be, Fialon also thought. Fialon can only attribute it to destiny. After all, choosing 5 treasure that was mana-oriented is quite a coincidence. There are only a few hours. You can stay here or go outside to wait until we go back. Maximus quickly went outside to assess the treasures he chose. Chapter 180 Homecoming. Maximus came outside to wait, seeing others who had also finished choosing their treasures.
Maximus, it seems that you've made your choice. What did you get? Can you show me?
Skye looked at him enthusiastically. No.
Oh, how about I show you mine?
Seeing Skye unusually excited. Despite being aware of that Skye is a female, Maximus couldn't help but get goosebumps. Is there something wrong with your head? Is it related to your training?
Oh, no.
It seemed that Skye also noticed his change in attitude. It's because of the treasure I obtained, as Skye said, scratching his head.
What is it?
You see, I bought a 5-piece integrated training set. Skye then took out 5 items. This is a gravity chamber without any gravity limit. This is a Tier 9 ether core that stores the virtual selves of the apex sovereigns from their inception up to Tier 9. This is the virtual real hex crystal, which can temporarily turn virtual objects into real ones. This is the machine training equipment that integrates all the training tools you can use up to Tier 9. This is the killing core, storing the maximum killing intent of creatures from Tier 1 to 9. How is it? Isn't this super awesome? Skye asked, looking at him excitedly as if he had picked the best treasure. You sure like training. Maximus's mouth couldn't help but twitch. He even wondered how Skye had learned about the specific functions of these treasures. How are these incredible training tools? I can share them with you. And? So, how about you heal me for free from now on? Impossible, he quickly disagreed. Unless you become my wife, there's no such thing as free, Maximus thought inwardly. How about from time to time? No. Then what do you want? Skye finally got serious. If Maximus weren't stronger, he would have been dragged into being his personal life warden. How about you become my thug? Maximus asked as he thought of something. A thug? Like your servant? Skye became gloomy, exuding pressure. The other students who were also waiting outside couldn't help but freeze and tremble. Skye's pressure had a kind of purity and ancientness to it. This kind of pressure could easily intimidate others, but not Maximus. With such weak strength, even Skye's pressure became higher in quality. Without sufficient strength, it was useless. Sort of. Maximus smiled. The pressure suddenly increased, even alarming the 3 apex sovereigns who were watching them. Don't worry, you'll only need to fight, nothing more. The pressure subsided as Skye looked at him intently. Fine, but the opponents better not be too weak or it'll just waste my time, Skye finally compromised. You have my word. You can also live in my manor so I can use your training tools. Whatever. Skye went back to being aloof after getting what she wanted. The 3 apex sovereigns, upon witnessing this interaction, looked at each other. That kid is also named Skye, huh? I thought it was just a fake, a wannabe Skye. Hey, I told you that the kid inherited the physique and legacy of the one from 1,000 epochs ago, Alabaster said proudly. We assumed you were just showing off. Hee hee, it's destiny. Think about it, it's been thousands of years since anyone named Skye appeared. It seems to be. Sigh, how time flies. Skye appeared every 1,000 epochs, shining like a shooting star. The most talented and insane individual, almost comparable to Malgren. However, due to bad luck or perhaps a curse, those named individuals named Skye always met their demise for various reasons. It's not that they never suspected that Skye might be a reincarnation of someone. But with each confirmation, investigation, and insight, everything appeared normal. From the very origin, every Skye was different. Perhaps the only consistent trait was their always crazy personality. Furthermore, even if Skye were indeed a reincarnation of a previous Skye or some other being, what difference did it make? At their level, standing at the top of the world, there was very little that could pique their interest. Their only dream was to advance in the Etherium realm, reach Tier 10, and break free from the restrictions of this world. A few hours later, the Etherium vault slowly closed. Alright, once again, congratulations on your achievements in this world competition trial. For the top 3, you will receive your origin mana pool rewards in 3 years, Fialon reminded. Now, I hope you reach the apex and become a guiding light for this world. We won't let the apex sovereigns down. We won't let our divine gods down. We won't let the supreme ancestors down. After a brief meeting, they were sent back to their respective continents, with Skye accompanying Maximus. City of Arcana, Maximus Manor. No matter how many times I come here, I'm always amazed, Skye smiled as he reminisced about the place. You've been here before? Yes, I've been here a lot, Skye lied without changing his expression. In this life, Skye had not been here at all, but in his previous lives, this was his favorite hangout place. It's just that the Arcane continent is too peaceful and not suitable for a training place. That's why he liked to be born in the Beast continent, so he could fight to his heart's content. We're here. This is my home, Maximus introduced as he opened the array to the manor. Oh, it's big enough, Skye said nonchalantly. It's already one of the biggest plots of land here. What do you mean it's not big enough? Maximus complained silently. Why does your place look like a circus? There isn't even one decent training equipment, Skye couldn't help but complain. It's for my kids, not for you, Maximus reasoned. You have kids? Skye was a little shocked and a little envious. Throughout all of his reincarnated lives, he had never had a romantic interest, let alone children. There was one thing Skye had experienced, the love of his birth parents and the love of his friends. Watching them die one by one while he was still alive was heartbreaking. That's why he vowed never to get himself involved with anyone. Even his disguise was for this reason. After all, it was easier to live as a man and avoid all kinds of entanglements. Why not? By now, I already have 10 wives and 12 children, Maximus said proudly. So, you're a scum, huh? With your face, you should have a lot of suitors. Perhaps you have more wives than me, Maximus teased a little. Women would only slow down my training, Skye's face contorted slightly, revealing a disgusted expression. While they were talking, his wives finally realized that he had arrived home. Husband! They rushed and hugged him. What's wrong? I've only been away for 3 days. We just missed you. After seeing Maximus fall into that dangerous situation in the Abyss realm, they truly felt how much they loved Maximus. The thought of never seeing him again was worse than dying. Don't worry, I will always be with you, Maximus comforted, understanding their worries. After a bit of silence, they finally saw Skye. Who is this, husband? Is this Skye? Hello, ladies, I am Skye. Skye smiled handsomely. Hello, you must be our husband's friend. Come in, Maximus smiled politely. They didn't know why, but they felt that Skye's smile was somewhat girlish. Soon, they entered the guest lounge. Thanks, Skye said after Erica offered him a drink. By the way, Maximus, where should I put my treasure training set? I'd like to start training immediately. Skye said eagerly. He felt he had wasted enough time talking here. It's just beside this house. You'll also be living here, Maximus informed. Fair enough, as Skye emptied the bottle of the drink, then went outside to place his treasure training set. Seeing his wives look at him with puzzled eyes, he explained the ins and outs of this matter. So Skye's a girl? They looked at him oddly. Aside from the dimensional immortal physique, Maximus had told them everything about Skye. After all, he didn't want his wives to feel uncomfortable around Skye. I've told you so many things, and this is the only thing you remember? Maximus smiled, a bit embarrassed. As expected of you, his wives looked at him as if they had figured everything out. By the way, you can also train with Skye, the training facility he got is top-notch, Maximus suggested. Sure. His wives excitedly agreed. Maximus also told them the various functions of Skye's training facility. Although it's not as comprehensive as the one in the Origin Arcana Institute, they are targeted and better at certain things. With anticipation, they went outside the guest lounge and came inside the futuristic magical training facility. Skye, can we join you in training? His wives eagerly asked. Skye? Not seeing anyone, they looked around. Achille. Skye. They were a little shocked, looking at the bloodied Skye lying on the ground. Achille. Muttered again, seeing Maximus. So troublesome, Maximus sighed and healed Skye perfectly. I should create a perfect healing talisman or something, Maximus thought.